Have you ever heard the phrase, is it nature or nurture? This is the phrase I'm going to tell you about today, and of course tell you a story so that you can learn English in the best way possible with comprehensible input. Welcome to English Coach 3Ts. I'm Tanya, and with all of my more recent videos, I create a practice sheet so that you can learn even more, and you can get this practice sheet for free by signing up for my More English Club down at the link in the description below. Like I said, this particular club is free, and you don't only get the practice sheet for this story, but several of the stories that I have told in the past. Today, I was giving some thought about what I had told you about recently and my new big life change, which you can find out about in the link, or I should say at the link in the description below, and I'll also put it up here. And how did I get to this place in my life where I became a nomad? I talk about the reasons why I chose this new lifestyle for this part of my life, but I was thinking about my whole life because this is an unusual, it's not a very common choice, although it is becoming more prevalent, or I could say more common here in the United States. But I had to think about that question. Was this nature or nurture? Or in other words, was this something that is natural for me? Was I born to eventually become a nomad? Or was it nurture, something that I learned throughout my life? And of course, I don't have the definite answer, but I would say that it was probably a little nature and a little nurture. So you will hear people ask this question about all kinds of things, like, why is someone a scientist or an artist? Is it nature or nurture that causes them to be that? Why do some people choose this career or that career? Why do some people have these certain values while others have those certain values? In other words, values are things that are important to us. Like, why is religion important to one person and not to another? Or why do people choose this political way of looking at things or that? Is it nature or nurture? If you've ever taken a class with me, you've heard me say that we are all different, and that's true about this topic as well. Some people love to be in the city or even to be inside a small space. In fact, when I do choose being inside, I really enjoy small, cozy spaces. And there are many things that I enjoy about the city and not being in nature. I'm simply taking some time to think about what is it that works best for me most of the time, and inviting you to do the same. I'd love to hear what works for you and how you have things that are maybe similar to me and also things that are different than me. And I think that this is the type of conversation you could have over a long period of time, because there aren't really any conclusive answers. In other words, there's no answer like, well, it is this that causes that. Now, of course, there are a lot of things that go into these types of questions, but I thought I would share a little of my own story to kind of give you the opportunity to think about your story and how this relates to you. You've probably heard me say before that thinking about how what I'm talking about relates to you is a really important part of remembering the words and phrases you're hearing in this video today. Whether those are words and phrases that you already know and already use, it's important to continue using them. We have another saying, use it or lose it, which I know is common in some other languages as well. Is it common in your language? Or if they are new words and phrases that you're just now learning, you need to use both of these in order to have them be a natural part of your conversations. And so using them by hearing them in what I'm talking about is one great way to learn. Thinking about them again, using the practice sheet that I will send out if you're a member of the free More English Club is another way to learn and really helps remember. And then thirdly, which is often on the practice sheet or the practice plan, is to figure out a way to relate them to you. So in this video, I'm going to invite you to think of what is nature and nurture for you. What is natural? What do you think you were born with? It's totally natural. And what is something that was nurtured in your life or you learned through the way your parents taught you or school or your culture or whatever? Because this is not only a great way to learn English, this is a great way to get to know yourself better. And of course, when you know yourself better, you are able to learn more effectively. I talk about that in a lot of other videos. So I invite you to just take a look at those other videos, especially my live videos. If you haven't seen some of my recorded live videos, you can go to the channel, the main dashboard of my channel, and click on live, and you will see a lot of live videos. I also have a playlist that you could take a look at. And I talk about those kinds of things there. But for today, nature or nurture, and what I've been thinking about specifically at this time as I've started this new chapter of my life as a nomad. Yes, a digital nomad working as I live in different places, but also a van lifer or a car lifer where I'm living out of my car in different places every few days or weeks. Today I'm here at a friend's home. I'm in their backyard making this video for you. You might be able to see their neighbor's solar here. We are in kind of the middle of Arizona, a little bit north and east of Phoenix, which is one of the main cities. You may have heard of Sedona, Arizona, very popular tourist destination. I am just a little bit south and east of Sedona and staying in the driveway of these friends and enjoying this friendship that I've had for a long time. And this beautiful tree inspired me to make this video today because one of the things I have always known about myself, but has become infinitely more clear or infinitely clearer to me, meaning very, very clear to me, is that being in actual nature with trees, the forest, the desert, the ocean, whatever it is hugely important to me, very important to me. I have noticed throughout decades of my life that when I spend more time in nature, I feel more calm, more serene, more tranquil, even more happy and joyous. And so I was asking myself, is this nature or nurture? And I'm curious what you will say, but I'm going to tell you my thoughts, which are that I think all of us have some of that experience to some extent, meaning for some of us, maybe a little bit, and for others, a lot and everything in between. And for me, I think it's more than maybe average. I don't know for sure, but having started this journey as a nomad, I've noticed that every time I'm in nature of any kind, which I have been mostly in the desert, which I wouldn't say is my favorite type of nature, but I do very much appreciate it. And here where I have this beautiful old tree, that I more easily feel centered. I'm curious if this is true for you. But I'm going to take this story just one step further, which is that I love camping. I have always loved camping. And again, is this natural for humans? I think to some extent it is. I talked a little bit about how all of us, if you go back far enough in your history, come from some sort of nomadic culture who moved around from area to area and lived really close to nature. But in modern cultures, it's not common. I almost said it's not common at all, but I'll change that to say it's not very common. And as I have gotten to know more and more people who are living as nomads here in the United States, there are some who will live in a city or close to a city, usually because of work. And a lot of them want to live more out in nature, in camping areas, or here in the United States, we have, at least at this point, a lot of land, natural places where you can camp and be close to nature. And what I think about this is when I talk to people, a lot of the people I know, just due to the friendships that I have, are people who enjoy camping. But when I talk with someone who says, no, I would rather slap myself in the face than go camping, which is a pretty strong way to say it. Or maybe they would say something like, I would just as soon slap myself in the face as go camping, meaning that slapping myself in the face or going camping are equal to me. I don't like either of those. That's always interesting to me, almost appalling, like, you have to be kidding. How could that be true for anyone? And, it's hard for me to even imagine that. Not anymore. It's not hard for me to imagine that anymore, as I've met lots and lots of people who feel that way. But in the past, it was really hard for me to imagine, what is there about camping that you don't like? Because for me, I love it and have always loved it. In my younger years, especially in my late 20s and 30s, I was backpacking a lot, where you carry everything on your back and walk out into nature so that you can get further out into nature. And for me, further away from anyone else, to spend more time in quiet. And that's another thing I really like, is quiet. I love music. I love talking with people. I love listening to audiobooks and seeing great YouTube videos, but I need a lot of silence every day. I need to have time when there is total silence, or even just the sound of the birds or the wind. I don't know if you'll hear the wind much with the microphone I have, but I love that sound. I love the feeling. I don't mind having my hair messed up. In fact, I enjoy that more natural way of living. And as far as camping goes, I once had someone say something similar to, I'd rather slap myself than sleep on the ground. For me, camping, I rarely actually sleep on the ground. As a backpacker, I had what is called a thermarest. I'll see if I can get a picture of that. It might be difficult to get a picture of that. It's just a very thin mat, which is a short word for mattress. A small mattress is a mat. The whole idea of this is to share these ideas and thoughts so you can listen to something, but also give you a chance to ask yourself, what are your preferences? What do you think about this? How did you come to these preferences? How have they changed over your life? For me, it hasn't changed a lot. It has changed. So partly it is nurture, but I feel like maybe I was born this way, or the nurturing part happened very early in my life, because I have always enjoyed being in nature. To some extent, again, there's that word. Maybe it's just in someone's backyard like this, where there's a house right there, a kitchen, a bathroom, everything convenient, or being far out in nature where there's nothing, not even your car, you've backpacked there. So that's a pretty opposite ends of the spectrum. Have you signed up for my We Speak Fluency program for women and men who have an intermediate level of English and want to be more advanced in their speaking and fluency? If you'd like to have more information or you're ready to sign up and start becoming more fluent, I'll put information in the description so that you can click on the link and find out more. For me, I almost feel like being in nature and even living in nature is in my blood. This is another way to say that I was born with it. It is a part of who I am. And that may or may not be totally true. That is not really the point here. The most important part of the story I'm sharing with you today is really for each of us to take a look at what is it that brings you the most peace and the most joy in your life. And if you're interested in learning more English with stories like these, I recommend that you watch this one next, and I'll see you there. Have you signed up? Whoa, Essie!